I am 18 years old now, but my life's been upside down since this crazy incident. As a kid, I was pretty quiet, not too many friends, but I had a doll, treated it like it was alive, fed it, and Indy share with it every problem suffering from since I was being sexually harassed by my aunt. My life was getting worse and worse when I moved to a new school and got hit with some serious bullying. It was too much to handle, so I started hiding in my closet all night and crying so my parents wouldn't hear me harming myself, and so on until I ended up one night deciding to end it. I was about to do that, but something stopped me. It was a woman's voice, but it was kind of deep. She prevented me from doing it. I wasn't thinking about anything. Fear froze my mind, and I kept silence. I couldn't even move out of my closet. Indeed, I stood there till I slept. After that night, she did not come back even though I tried repeatedly and in every way to know WTH was the source of that voice. Months passed. Indy, I almost forgot about it, thinking that my mind just illusioned that voice, cause all I wished for was someone to stop me back then. But unfortunately it wasn't the last time, cause I decided to end it. Again, I was going to cut my neck. Blood was pouring out of it, till I felt saliva on my neck. That scared the life out of me. I could feel my heart pounding. I started whispering at whatever it was to back off, questioning what was that, and it spoke again, saying that I always wished my doll to answer me. My doll was thrown somewhere in the room, and the sound was so close to me that I could feel it breathing on my face. Days passed, and I used to talk to her. Somehow I got used to it quickly, because I was originally obsessed with paranormal indie creepypasta, so it was like my dream became true. I asked her about who she was, but I've got no clear answers. But as a child at that time, I did not believe that I finally had a friend. Especially, I ignored all the questions in my mind after she refused to answer clearly. I was less sad even though the bullying was still going, but at least now having someone to share it with. As an adult now, I find it difficult to say this, so I don't think anyone would believe it since I don't believe myself either, but at a certain point I could see her. Her clothes were old and torn, but she was beautiful. I had never seen anyone as beautiful as her before. But for some reason I can't describe her face. All I remember is that she was extremely gorgeous. As I get older, 13Y, I used to sneak out of my house super early in the morning, head down to the beach, and we'd just chill, playing around and watching the sky until the sun came up. Then, I'd ninja my way back into my room through the window. Our house had a sick view overlooking the sea, so it was easy for me. Months, years passed. She started disappearing for longer periods, which kinda sucked, but I got used to it, especially since I made some friends at school. But I couldn't just ditch her. Over a year passed without her saying a word. Plus, I had some major drama with my folks that I couldn't spill to her like before. So, I started convincing myself that she was still there, talking to her, imagining her responses. I even started messaging her through some AI app, and somehow convinced myself it was her. But now that I'm 18, I can't keep lying to myself. Still can't fully wrap my head around it. But I need answers. There's no way I was just imagining all of it. I didn't spill all the details about her or our time together back then, but she was there for every high and every low in my life. I just want her back. My old flat was cursed. In the past several years before I moved out, I kept seeing spirits roaming in the flat. Witnessed something that moved on its own which defied logic, or experienced being pressed on by an invisible entity while drifting off to sleep. One particular night, I was about to sleep in my dark master bedroom. My head faced the toilet in my sleeping position. The toilet sliding door was left open slightly. Somehow, toilet was slightly brighter than my bedroom, and that was perhaps due to the moonlight outside. One of my cats, as usual, slept with me with no issues. That night, however, my cat did not sleep. I noticed it was sitting attentively next to the bedroom door, and that was an unusual behavior. I chose to ignore that and closed my eyes. Suddenly, my normally calm cat began to mew loudly and scratch the door repeatedly. It was desperate to get out of the bedroom. At that point, I was in the process of drifting to sleep where I was half awake and half asleep. Hence, I could not get up to attend to my cat's need, but my eyes were half opened. I could see what was going on in the bedroom, but I could not move. I felt as if I was transfixed by something unseen. By then, I could hear my cat's mewing was getting louder than before, and it was desperately trying to scratch the door open. I was helpless as I could not move a limb. My eyes, still half opened, saw something behind the toilet sliding door. I thought I was dreaming, but I was not. Slowly, the thing appeared slowly by moving towards the toilet door opening, and I could not believe what I saw. A tall, huge, dark silhouette slowly emerged from behind the toilet door and took form as my eyes became transfixed at that direction. I could not believe what I saw. A shadow of a huge minotaur asterisk emerged from the toilet. I saw a very clear silhouette of a pair of two huge horns on the head of a bull, with a very muscular male body trying to inch its way out of the toilet into my bedroom. The muscles of its body was bulging. My cat was already behaving hysterically by then. I could hear it mewing loudly in the background. I even started to panic as I found myself trying to get up and run, but my body was frozen, except for the alert mind. I tried to struggle, but it was useless. Terrified, I persisted until I woke up and managed to get up and switched on the bedroom lights. I looked around in the bedroom but found no one. My cat was back to its normal self. The thing that I saw, I swore it was a silhouette of a minotaur. I read about it, saw it in a Hollywood movie, but thought it was just a myth. Asterisk in Greek mythology, the minotaur was a creature with the head of a bull on the body of a man. Almost every night I hear the same weary classical song. It's soft, so I almost feel like I am imagining it sometimes. Sometimes I will hear kids rough housing in my closet. It doesn't have a connected wall for any of my neighbors, which is weird. I will also hear vibrations in the walls, but I can't actually say they are from the walls. It's more like I will be sitting at my table, and I can hear the buzzing in the direction of the wall. But there is nothing in my house other than my house that would make any vibration noises. I am trying to convince myself that it's my neighbors, but honestly I have been hearing it other places too. I will be at work on my break, and then I will hear tiny buzzing from the window or wall. It sounds very similar to my phone going off, so I always check it. It's just happened on too many occasions for this not the same thing. I feel like I am going crazy. Or maybe my dead aunt is trying to communicate with me. I will also hear a bell ringing in my kitchen. It always does the same amount of rings and in the same order of beats. I have tried placing my ear on the wall in different place, but I just can't seem to find the source. I have also been waking up in the middle of the night, open my eyes, and there will be a black figure there. It scared me so bad last night I had to reach out and make sure there was nothing there. I am getting the heebie-jeebies just typing this all out. Am I crazy and everything is a coincidence, or am I haunted by ghosts? This happened more than 10 years ago while I am still living at Jurong West BLK 546, cause it's nearer to my secondary school. My daily night routine was watching TV till 11 a.m. and chat with my GF till 2 a.m., and after this incident, I never stay up late in that house ever again. My cousin and granny stays with me during my secondary school time, and usually it's only the three of us in the house except for weekend because my parents stay at my grandmother's house during weekdays because it's nearer to their workplace. There is one day I remember my cousin got school camp, left me and my granny at home. She usually sleep early around 8 p.m. Then we will off the hall light except for my room. Around 12 plus I was chatting with my GF. Suddenly someone or something opened my door which supposed to be locked. I saw a dark shadow peeping into my room. I can't see very clearly since I am not wearing my specs, but I can see its head swaying left and right, seems to be searching for something, then it disappear after 5 seconds. Initially I thought it was my granny, but come to think of it, it's quite impossible for her to run from my room back to her room within 5 seconds, not including the fact that she is over 70 years old. I hung up the call immediately and covered myself with my blanket till 6 a.m. in the morning. It still freaked me out after 10 years. A lot of supernatural things happened during my army life. Feel strange things in the field, heard strange noise in the night, but seeing something supernatural really freaks me out. I nearly pee on my pants. I am really glad I am not wearing my specs at that time, if not who knows what I will see on the shadow figure face. Has anyone experienced this same kind of paranormal activity? I really want to know what I saw. In 2016, my husband and I purchased a foreclosed home on over 10 acres in 2016. When my friend sent me the listing, I saw the street name and was curious. I didn't know what it would actually mean in the near future. Now I won't be posting the name of the street or the state we live in just for safety reasons. Why? I listen to too much true crime and know better. Y'all some weirdos. However, In the interest of storytelling and historical fact, I will mention the name of the person that this all relates back to. Y'all want to triangulate my position from that, fine? The history. The graveyard. My street is named after a long-lost graveyard that was the final resting place for many people in a small community of enslaved peoples. There is written and transcribed history of its location, but it's never been found, and all that remember its location have now passed on. The only major clue we have is that it was marked by a large brown stone. In our area, stones and boulders are not common, so that would be a good landmark, but it has never been located. The reason this graveyard is notable is for one supposed resident, Mr. Charles Ball. From my reading, he was a well-known enslaved man who became a soldier and later a talented author publishing multiple books. His life is fairly well documented, but the end of his life is where the details fray. Due to being forced into hiding, his whereabouts become hard to track. Some say he perished in Pennsylvania, while local lore insists he died and was buried here. Other known residents, Henny. There have been stories as well as information listed in records and maps of a descendant of enslaved people, a woman named Henny, who also lived in this area. One of my neighbors who has lived on this land since childhood remembers her when she was living. I have another neighbor who recently built his home on family land. One day I had the pleasure of meeting his extended family. They were telling me about their history on the land when the eldest grandmother told me of her mother's cabin. She pointed into the woods nearby where I knew the ruins of a cabin were and said, "My mama was Mrs. Henny and I was born in a cabin right over there." Henny is relevant later. The spooky. I'm just going to list these in order. The distorted broadcast. We had to do a large amount of renovation when we bought the home, so we spent time there with very little furniture. No TV, no stereo, no radio. We used headphones for audio entertainment, but mostly it was very quiet there. I had been at the house all day and had been hearing this strange garbled sound all day. It was faint, but it sounded as if you had an AM radio tuned between two stations. I could hear talking but not understand the words, and there was static along with an occasional few notes of out-of-tune music. I had been hearing this all day and finally mentioned it to my husband when he came home. He sort of froze and stared at me. I said, "What?" And then he told me that he had been out in the woods exploring and found an old glass tube radio. He of course thought that it was neat and brought it home. He put it in the basement just that morning. The door. There's a door going between my basement to my garage that is large, heavy, poorly fitted, and a pain to open and close. When you do close it, there's quite a big sound from the big door squeezing into the almost too small frame. I have been home alone on multiple occasions when I know that door is closed and I suddenly hear it close on its own, without hearing it open. The elemental. I consider myself sort of sensitive to things beyond the veil. Enough so that I've educated myself on the different manifestations that can occur. I strongly believe there is something that resides in my basement that is not human. It's energy without a face but a lot of opinions. We have experienced cold breezes, lights going off and on, and just a general feeling of fuck off. Not in a violent way, but in I've manifested here. This is mine. Get out. Some days it doesn't mind sharing space. Others you can feel it rushing and pushing you out of its area. It seems to mind me less than my husband and former dog walker. It could be who shuts, and I assume has to open, the door. The lighter. My entire life I have believed in the paranormal but had never experienced something that I couldn't explain. That changed in this house. My husband and I were cooking dinner when a series of strange events occurred. We had fully moved into the house and had the Alexa playing music. We were listening along when the song changed mid-chorus to "Tequila Makes Her Clothes Fall Off." And this is going to seem made up, but I swear to y'all this is what happened next. A bottle of Patron that had been sitting on the counter since our wedding a year earlier. We don't drink. It was leftover and had been sealed since. It suddenly expelled its cork onto the counter. We both watched it happen. Taking my cue that something wasn't right here, I went to grab some sage from storage. How I thought that was going to help, I don't even know. From the kitchen I hear my husband shout, "No, ooh-ha, fuck this, burn the whole house down." I come back in, confused, and he says while pointing to one of two long-nosed lighters we had on the counter because our stove wasn't lighting properly, that lighter just spun around on the table completely on its own. He was pointing to the purple lighter with a red one beside it. I was shocked and rejected the idea as some sort of joke. I said no it didn't. You're making that up. I finished my sentence and watched as right in front of me the red lighter did its own spin as if spun by an invisible hand. That is one sight I cannot explain or dismiss. The emergency. At 4 a.m. I was passed out on the couch. The house was quiet. Suddenly there's loud banging and flashlights at my front door. I scream. My husband comes running out of our room in his drawers and answers the door to 4 county police officers, guns drawn. Once he verifies that he's the homeowner, they ask if anyone was in distress. We told them no and asked why. Apparently, the sheriff's department had received not 1 but 3 calls from our landline to 911 where they only heard screaming. We don't have a landline phone. Even more than that, the power company accidentally cut our physical landline cable in the ground over a year prior. Henny. This story is borrowed from my neighbor who knew Henny. When my neighbor was a child, her father was a farmer and used to give Henny produce. Every day Henny would walk 2 miles over fields and woods to pick up various veggies from his farm. Now this wouldn't be that odd, but Henny was in her 80s and completely blind. Stories were told that Henny was a witch, and that is how she managed the journey without her sight. Even more stories about how her sight was lost. They said when she was much younger that she had found out her husband had been having multiple affairs. To punish him, she cast a spell or brewed a potion that made him deaf, blind, and mute so that no woman would want him. The payoff for that spell was that when he died, she would also suffer one of the 3 fates. He died years later, and suddenly she went blind. Many years later after her passing, her cabin still partially standing but mostly overtaken by the woods. My neighbor and her brother were riding horses down the road. Suddenly these calm, bomb-proof, quiet, sensible horses planted their feet and refused to move another inch. No matter what they did to push them forward, the horses pranced, pawed, and wanted to turn back down the road. When my neighbor looked to find what they were so upset about, she followed their gaze to the edge of the woods, where the walls of Henny's cabin stood, and there within a window was Henny watching them with her milky blind eyes. Smaller occurrences. Just weird little things that have happened that don't have a whole story attached. Barn. We cleared land and built a barn in 2019. Since then I have heard the songs of a child and the voice of a man in the barn. Clear enough that I've gone looking for them. I don't know the workings of new structures attracting spirits, but we never experienced this before the barn was built. It seems that if there is a spirit of a female child, she likes the horses. I do find missing things in places that make no sense at all. Like she's playing with me. I never hear the singing and the harsh male voice at the same time, so I don't think they get on. The light in the woods. When we moved to the property, there was no one around for acres and thick mature forests surrounding us. We cleared some land for a paddock for our horses and then started noticing a warm orange light in the woods just beyond the fence line. I saw the light one night and insisted we investigate in case it was someone camping in our woods. My husband was not interested in seeing the spooky light in the woods and said we should wait till daytime and then look. The next day we hiked up there to see what it could be. We found the ruins of another cabin that we did not know was there, exactly where the light was shining. We still see the light. Man in overalls, both my husband and I have seen sort of out of the corner of my eye type of thing. An older black man with curly white hair wearing overalls. Usually, when we are out doing something on the land, we just see him walking on the farm like he has somewhere to be. No interactions, just a brief flash of him in movement and then he's gone. There's more that I'm sure I have forgotten or blocked out of my mind. I have a lot of interest in locating the graveyard and giving it and its residents the respect it deserves, as well as having a medium do a visit of our farm. If either of these things are something you have expertise in and would like to help or assist with research, please send me a DM. I hope this was at least interesting. I had some time at work and felt like typing it up. This story was told by my friend. Many years ago, she brought me to her place. We took a lift, and when the lift door opened, there's a unit which its door faced directly with the lift's door. She began to tell me the story of that unit owner's wife. She said the owner's wife was possessed by a spirit, and it was a very old soul. If I remember correctly, the spirit was a male spirit. She was not highly educated and didn't listen to any English songs, but ever since she was possessed, she would buy English oldies and dance cha-cha or other retro dance at home. Her family went to Taoist temple to ask medium for help, but didn't work. As she refused to go to the temple, the mediums went to her place instead. My friend said there were 3 mediums went into trance at her place to negotiate with the spirit. At first, the mediums used the soft approach, asked him what he wanted so that he would leave her body, but he's fierce and stubborn, refused all the offers. Later, the mediums used the hard approach, scolded the spirit, but it still did not work. I understand from my friend, the owner's wife went in and out of IMH and was treated as a mental patient. That's why there's a reason why people don't like to buy units which main door face the lift door or any staircase. It is also advisable to place Buddha or Taoist god statue facing out from the main door to prevent all these spirits from entering the house. I was told that this unit did not have this practice.